All right, tonight on the show, we are diving into some 90s nostalgia here, fueled by the latest Geico commercial, featuring my next guest, DC Glenn.
Tasha, did you know Geico could save you hundreds on car insurance and a whole lot more? So what are you waiting for? Hip-hop group tag team to help you plan dessert?
French vanilla, rocky road, chocolate, peanut butter cookie dough. Scoop this, scoop this, scoop this, scoop this, scoop shakalaka, 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 shaka, scoop shakalaka, shakalaka, shakalaka.
Geico. Switch today and see all the ways you could save.
That's right, I'm happy to welcome DC Glenn of Tag Team. Whoop, there it is. Hey, DC, how you doing, man?
Hey, man, good to be here.
So my first question is, I know that you've had a lot of struggles in the music industry, especially when you started. You had the big hit with Whoop, There It Is, and then you had some legal trouble with that. But in spite of it all, you still kept going. What does it take, man? People must ask you all the time, what does it take to become something successful, especially now in today's world? What do you tell them?
Well, all it was hustle, man. I mean, I've been working hard all of my life, and I do not fear work. So,
Right.
I try to gain mastery in all the things that I do.
Tasha, did you know
Things, and it just works out well for me. And, back then, it was just about making songs, making demos, getting better every day until we, reached our goals. And once we reached our goals, we were very, very happy.
It's funny, man, when I think back to that era of time, the early 90s, when hip hop was just like starting to be taken seriously, really. And then all of a sudden it took a big turn in more of a hard direction. And, I'm thinking Biggie, Tupac, Snoop, even Hammer. Remember, Hammer actually decided to try to go hardcore, Vanilla Ice, those kind of things. That was the trendy thing to do at the time. Was there any kind of pressure for you to take your positive music and turn it into something a little more hardcore because that was kind of what was in vogue at the time and popular at the time?
No, there was nothing. I mean, don't make it harder than what it was. All it was young kids partying, having fun, wanting to be rappers. It's that simple. Everybody thinks Whoop, There It Is was this big Manhattan project where we had whiteboards and, the theorems and all kind of stuff like that. And it was just about, a song about us partying on a Friday night chasing girls. And when it comes to the music part of it,
it's really funny. I think about how many times I've actually played your song because like you, I was working at a strip club at that period of time too. And I know how desperate those clubs can be for some really cool club music, especially at the time, the early 90s. And so you actually had a great opportunity being a DJ. You had a very captivated audience in a great area to listen to some of your stuff.
Because I think different, right? So here's the beauty of it. I've learned in my lifetime and obtained the ability to take any negative emotion, pain, fear, envy, jealousy, hatred, despair, put it in my pocket, don't react, and use it later for fuel, right? So any negative vibe that someone gives me, that is a solution to a problem for me, right? That's how I see it. I don't see it any other way. Like, I love to be wrong, right? Because being wrong just does so many things for you, right? Perfect example. We all know people who we argue with, people we love, we argue with, and they're cynical. And, I'm not going to argue with people because if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But a lot of people will keep arguing because they can't take being wrong. Their ego can't take it. Their pride can't take it. And I love being wrong because what it does is it beats down my ego and sequesters my pride to the point where it's not a factor anymore. And while I'm trying to find a solution, the other people keep trying to win the argument, and they're going further and further and further down a rabbit hole until their arguments become their reality, which are not based in fact and then they are truly lost. And me, I love being wrong because it's the path to being right. So which road are you going to take? The rabbit hole to untruth, or the path to understanding the truth and never being wrong at that truth again? And I do that with everything. Perfect example, if I got an audition tomorrow that I got to have done for acting, and it requires me to be very angry, right, at this woman. And I was arguing with a friend of mine last week, and I didn't blow up or anything, but it was eating me up inside, right? I'm blowing up inside, but I'm not showing it. So I put it in my pocket and I use it later. So I think tomorrow I'm going to take it out and use it. And now, instead of me trying to find a character or be a caricature, the character on that page becomes me. And because it's steeped in reality, I bring that character to life and everybody can relate. That's acting.
Everybody who says stuff like that, everyone, it comes from somewhere. It comes from somewhere that's kind of a personal place usually. Where does it come from for you? Because you have this real passion about your work ethic. I can see it. I can feel it. And fighting for what you believe in, because it took a lot of hustling for you to actually make it with Whoop There It Is. Where did that come from for you? Did anything happen in your life that made you like really want to go out and go for it and become so passionate and so involved in a hustle?
Comes from my mother and my father, because they worked me and my brother like a dog, right? And I've been stemming collard greens and shucking peas since I was 5 years old. My mother had a prep cook. My father was wash my car, cut the lawn, mow the, cut the hedges. And they gave us an allowance, and we had our chores to do, but they wouldn't take our money away if we didn't do our chores or do what they asked. They would hurt us in other ways. So it was a reward and a consequence based upbringing I had. So if I didn't go to church on Sunday, I couldn't play with my friends football because we used to play on Sundays, right? They knew how to get to me to make me do right. If I didn't clean my room in the morning before I went to school, I couldn't watch TV that night, right? Little things like that just stick you, right? The things that you want, because man, as a kid, watching cartoons after school, nothing was better. Or if I didn't do something during the week, she's like, nope, you can't watch cartoons on Saturday morning. What? That was painful. So that didn't happen too often. And what really started my hustle, I remember the day. We had a blizzard in Denver, and we were one of the only families on the block that had a snowblower. And me and my brother did ours in 20 minutes. And then I saw Mr. Grant struggling. We went and did his yard. Then we did the whole block, because we're kids playing in snow, right? But we're actually working and clearing people's, driveways. And that next week, as we're coming back from school, people would call every day. Somebody was calling us to their house like, hey, here's $20. I appreciate you doing my walkway. What? And once I knew that I could get big money for hustling, I never looked back. And then I had a paper route. Then I worked at an ice cream shop. Then I worked at the AV department at the Auraria campus at the college, pushing around projectors and making sure they're in all the classes. And then I started chefing at the restaurants, right? I've never, ever feared work. And I love work.